There's a quiet revolution happening right now. It's not for your phone, it's not for your laptop, it's a massive software update for government itself. We're talking about a fundamental redesign, a shift to pull the machinery of the state out of the filing cabinet era and into our modern digital world.
Think about it. For most of us, it's been a long time, right? Banking is just an app now. You can check your balance, move money around, even apply for a loan all from one place. You don't have to think about which department handles what. You just see your money. Now, what if you could have that exact same experience for everything from renewing your license to applying for benefits? Well, that's the big idea here.
That relentless focus on the user, the thing that changed banking, shopping, everything, is finally coming to the public sector. The goal is to move away from a government that's organized around its own internal departments and toward one that's organized around your life. Things like having a baby, starting a business, or retiring. And to really get just how big of a deal this is, we first have to look at the old operating system it's replacing.
So back in the late 20th century, this really powerful idea took hold. The thinking was, what if we could just run government more like a business? This whole philosophy was called New Public Management, and it promised to bring a new age of efficiency and accountability to the state.
At its core, New Public Management, or NPM for short, was this simple but kind of radical idea. Let's take the logic of the private sector and apply it directly to public services. The goal was to cut budgets, boost performance, and make government more responsive to its new customers, which was us, the citizens.
The NPM playbook really had three main moves. First, split it up. This meant breaking apart massive, clunky government departments into smaller, more focused agencies, each with one specific job. Second, make it compete. This brought in market-style competition, forcing these new agencies to bid against each other and against private companies for government work. And third, pay for results. This meant moving away from fixed salaries for public servants and towards things like performance-related pay and other financial bonuses. And this wasn't just a theory. It was put into practice all over the world. Government IT departments were outsourced, internal markets were set up inside national health services, and hundreds of new, smaller agencies were created. And while this did make some individual parts of government more efficient, it also created a whole new set of, system-wide problems. You see, the big flaw in running government like a bunch of separate businesses is that our lives just aren't that simple. A real person's problems don't fit neatly into bureaucratic boxes. Think about a single parent who's just lost their job. They might need help with housing, childcare, and job training. Services that were now spread across 3 different, disconnected, and sometimes even competing agencies. This quote from the OECD just hits the nail on the head. It really gets to the core of the paradox. By making each little piece of government super efficient at its one thing, we accidentally made it way harder for the government as a whole to tackle big, complex problems that cross those agency lines. Things like a pandemic or climate change.
Okay, let's break this down, because I know it looks a little complicated at first glance, but it's actually showing a pretty simple chain reaction. The attempt to make government more businesslike, it ended up making the whole system way more complex. And the result, it actually made it harder to solve real-world problems. We basically built this maze of agencies and rules, and then told citizens, okay, good luck finding your way through.
It's a classic case of good intentions, bad results. In the name of efficiency, this new public management model basically shifted all the hard work of connecting the dots and navigating the system away from the government and put it squarely on the shoulders of the individual citizen. And the level of fragmentation could get pretty wild. Just look at New Zealand, one of the early adopters. They ended up with over 300 separate central government agencies for a country of just 3.5 million people. It became crystal clear that this just wasn't working. We needed a new approach, one built for the totally interconnected digital world we actually live in. So the failure of that old model, combined with the absolute explosion of the internet, gave birth to a totally new way of thinking. People call it digital era governance or new public governance. And it's a complete rethinking of how the state should work and how it should serve us in a networked age. This new model is all about putting things back together, reintegration. It flips the script, moving the focus away from how government agencies are structured on the inside and turning it towards what the citizen actually needs. So instead of prioritizing competition, it's all about collaboration and trust between the government, the private sector, and, us.
This table is a fantastic way to see how the thinking has evolved. We went from being subjects, basically governed by rules from on high, to consumers, served by markets and contracts. But this new model sees us as interdependent agents, active partners with the government in a relationship that's built on trust.
So this new approach is really guided by three big ideas. First up, reintegration, actively using technology to stitch the fragmented pieces of government back together. Second, needs-based holism, designing services around a person's entire life event, not just one little slice of it. And finally, digitization. And this is key. It's not about just putting old paper forms online. It's about using tech to completely re-engineer how things get done from the ground up.
Okay, so this is all great theory, but what does it actually mean for you? How does this big philosophical shift really change your day-to-day experience when you have to deal with the government?
Let me give you a fantastic, real-world example from Canada. It used to be that applying for your pension meant wrestling with a mountain of paperwork. But then a government task force had a realization. They already had all the information they needed, it was just spread out across different databases. So their solution was absolutely radical. They got rid of the form entirely. Now when you're eligible, you just automatically get a welcome letter and your first check. That is a perfect example of shifting the burden off of the citizen and back onto the state.
And you are seeing this new playbook in action all around you. It's those one-stop-shop government websites where you can do a bunch of different things in one place. It's the Ask Once policy, which means you don't have to give the government the same info over and over again. Radical disintermediation, that's just a fancy term for being able to go online and see your own tax records or health info directly without anyone in the middle. And co-production can be as simple as sorting your recycling, where we all do a small part to make the whole system run better.
At the end of the day, the goal here is to build a more agile government. The old siloed model was just slow and clunky. It really struggled to react to fast-moving crises like a public health emergency or a natural disaster. An agile government, on the other hand, can quickly pull together its data and resources to meet new challenges as they pop up.
This quote really sums up the whole transformation. The focus is moving away from the cold, impersonal world of markets and contracts. Instead, the new system is being built on something much more human. Relationships between different parts of government, all based on trust and a shared mission to serve the public.
Now, this whole transformation is still a work in progress, and there are huge challenges, especially around things like data privacy and security. Which leaves us with a really fascinating question to think about. Government, by its very nature, is built to be stable. So as it goes through this massive digital upgrade, can it ever become as truly nimble and adaptive as the fast-changing world it's supposed to serve? One thing's for sure, the government of the future is going to look very different, and that's a software update that is definitely worth watching.